everyone.
Hi there. Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome, welcome. So I'm Fran from Village Dry Goods in Brigham City, Utah.
And I'm Dawna from the Quilt store in Broomfield, Colorado. We are mother-daughter quilting duo.
We are. We are.
And this video, we are going to show you some of our favorite things in the quilting industry right now. Things that help us sew either quicker or more accurate, or we just love them.
Or we just love them.
Yeah, we do love pretty things.
We do. And when they come out with a new notion or a new whatever, I like to try it. It doesn't mean it's always going to be one I'm going to sell in the store, because some of the time I'm like, that was dumb.
Yeah.
But there are a lot.
Sometimes you find some great things.
You find some great things. And a lot of times there are new rulers that are added all the time that make it so much easier for us to do certain units. So we're always trying new, fun, different things. And if we like them, we're going to bring them to you. And if you know a new one,
oh, come show us.
please come show us. Let us know, because we don't see everything. No. So we're going to start this off, and we're going to just run through kind of a random thing.
Okay, let's start with pressing.
Let's do.
Okay, because pressing, there's a difference between ironing and pressing, right?
There is. So I'm going to iron.
No, don't do that. That's
not on our pieces.
No.
Why not?
Well, because that'll distort things, make things kind of wavy and wonky. So when you press, you just press. Press. If you're going to slide, make sure that you're not putting weight on it as you slide.
Yeah, pick it up, slide it to your next, give it a press. Pick it up, slide it, press. Yes.
So a couple things we found that help us with our seams laying flatter is a wool mat. What do you like about the wool mat? Why do you think the wool mat works so great?
So if you have a wool mat, I want you to try an experiment. So take your little, whatever your pieces are that you've just sewn together, press them without your mat, and then press them with your mat. Yeah. You'll know with the wool mat, it helps make them lay nice and flat.
Yeah. I think it absorbs the heat or whatever.
It does.
So if you're going to press your seam open, a strip stick is great.
Is amazing. You just open that seam, lay it over. So there's just a little half dowel in here with a little batting and your fabric on top. And then you open up that seam and you just press it right along the top of your dowel. And you don't get any bump on your piece if you're just ironing it out flat. So we love to use.
And it kind of helps it fall open a little bit too.
It does.
So then after I press it open, I'll flip it over and press it from the right side. And then on top of the piece, I'll lay
your
flapper. Yes. If I really want a flat seam. All these steps do take a little bit of extra time.
But it
depends. It does. It depends on what you're working on. If you're just making a quick quilt for the grandkids for movie night and you're just throwing some squares together,
it's going to be drugged through the mud.
Yeah, you may not want to spend all that time. But if you're doing more intricate pieces and you have lots of things that you need to fit in together, you're going to want to be more precise and nice and flat.
The clapper will work.
So with that, you just press your seam and then lay it on top. The weight of it helps the seam flatten out, and the wood absorbs the heat faster and cools it down so it stays in that place.
And you don't have to leave it on there until everything is nice and cool. You just put it on there, press your next piece, then you're ready to
take it off.
Onto that one. We probably should have shown this one before we started working on ironing.
Yeah, well, this is pre-ironing, right? That's why you're saying that. This is pre-ironing.
This is pre-ironing.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different products out there. Best Press is an amazing one. I like this. This is magic. It's premium
magic. I think it has fairy dust.
It does.
Unicorns. Something in there. Yeah.
So Best Press is an amazing one. It gives your fabric a little bit firmer feel. I like that when I'm piecing. I just feel like it helps me piece better. The quilting, I feel like, makes it even a little bit firmer. Now, here's a really good tip that a friend taught me. When you are starching your pieces, do it from the back side.
Yeah. Because when they process fabric and they put the dye on the top,
the finish is on the top.
It's not going to absorb your spray.
Right.
It's going to absorb it better from the back. So flip your fabric over, spray. I also like to give it a little time to kind of soak and get in a little
pieces soak their stuff completely, then let it dry, then I don't have time for that. I
give it a spray, go do something else, go grab coffee or go do some other little piecing or something, but just give it a little bit of time to
kind of go down into your piecing.
Yeah, go
and
into your
then
fabric.
if it's not as firm as maybe what you would like it to be, then go ahead and flip it onto the front side and give the front side a nice little starch and a press as well.
Yeah,
So
I think what this helps with in accuracy is in your cutting.
it really helps with a couple of things. That bias, those bias strips that you're cutting, it kind of really helps stabilize that bias edge a little bit so it's not moving around. So
Yeah.
pressing, I love starch. I do use starch all the
Okay,
time.
what do you use this
Oh my
scary looking
gosh.
tool for?
So
Oh,
the
she's got
tool.
something sharp. Be very careful. That's why she has a plastic on it.
It's so I don't jab myself. And actually,
Or anybody else.
Well, sometimes I want to stab others, but so
Just
this
keep quilting,
really
that goes away.
it does help. This really came with a really cute little teeny tiny tube.
You lost it.
I lost it. So a friend of mine said, "Oh, you just go to the hardware store, you get tubing that just fits right down over the top of that, and it also protects your point."
Yeah.
So this is called a stiletto. This one happens to be by our friend by Annie, which she's such a neat lady. But what I use a stiletto for is when I am sewing, I like to hold my pieces together using a stiletto, especially when you're sewing into a seam and you've got a little point that's there. This is going to help hold that down and hold it together.
Well, yeah, because that can get right up into it, whereas your finger can't really get up in there. Well, you don't want to run it over. I mean, you don't want to run this over either, but you're less likely, or at least there's less bodily injury if that does happen.
That is correct. So that's what I use this end of by Annie's stiletto for. But look at this end. Do you know what you can do with that end?
Wear it as a top hat?
Well, probably not. It's a little off.
Looks like a little top hat.
I mean, no.
Okay, what do you use it for? I'm stumped.
Okay, you're stumped. Good. I like that. This is a pressing tool. So sometimes people, if they're doing, if you're doing paper piecing, sometimes people will use that. Or if you just have two seams and you just quickly want to press those together, you can use the end of this. I need that time to get up from my sewing machine and go to the pressing table and actually do it. But that is what this fun little end down here is for. Okay. That's actually a nice little pressing end. So very valuable little tool. I do use that one.
Excellent. All right. What do you use this for?
Oh my gosh, everything. So when I have made my little blocks, whatever I'm making, and I need to trim them up. So you know, if you're trimming this side and this side, you're great. But what if you're trimming, I might have just cut my own self.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. But so you're upside down and you're sometimes then you're moving your ruler or or
risking injury.
You just put your fingers in the side of this mat and you rotate it around.
Yeah.
Now I've got my side and my top to trim again. Now they have these come in lots of different shapes and sizes. There are some square ones. There's a smaller round one. So rotating mats are amazing. However, if you don't have a rotating mat and you're trying to trim, you can use just a regular mat.
Yeah.
Whatever size mat you have that's slightly larger that you can pick up and you just then turn the whole mat instead of just spinning, you turn the whole mat.
This is handy.
This is very handy. I use it a lot.
How about pins and needles?
Oh, one of my very favorites. Okay, let's talk pins and needles for half a second. So, a couple of my favorites, applique pins. I use applique pins all the time. Now, I know these are very small and they may be quite difficult to see, but an applique pin is actually much shorter. So if I have these all pinned around my pieces, I'm not as likely to jab myself quite as much. Clover makes a nice little one. That's the white-headed one. The other more clear one, that's a Little House applique pin, and they're both amazing. When I'm doing my piecing now, I don't have a nail in my pin cushion. The old-fashioned yellow head pins, or even some of the other colored ones, the pin part of that, the little metally
part. The gauge, that's called.
The gauge. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's big enough that you could nail 2 2x4s together, I believe.
I don't think it was that big.
I think it might be. But they're really big. When you go to pin your pieces together, if you're trying to match your points, if you just watch, when you're pinning in a thicker pin into that point, it's going to move your fabric.
Yeah.
And so they might not stay together so well. So one of my very favorites are the Clover fine piecing pins. They are amazing. Another pen that I absolutely love is called a fork pen. It kind of looks like a fork.
It does.
It doesn't quite have enough
Don't eat
tines.
with it, though.
Please don't. And
No.
don't pick your teeth with it. That's
Oh,
just
no.
gross. Don't do that because then you're going to put it in your fabric. That's nasty. So what you do with a fork pen, when you have, may I borrow your little quilt top there, please, ma'am? So when I have a bunch of points that are going to be going together, I first take my piecing pin and I'm going to put it right into that point on the one piece. I'm going to then make sure it's through the same on the back part. I'm going to leave that pin standing up nice and straight and tall. I'm then going to take my fork pin and I'm just going to go to both sides of that pin that's standing there and just take a little small bite and push it all the way through.
That just really helps hold that.
That will hold both of those.
Yeah,
Yeah, it holds
careful.
my seam.
Okay.
Holds my seam
Yeah.
together. Then
Holds
take
those,
the pin
yeah,
out.
holds that seam and those points
Now,
matching.
I will say, I do not sew over pins.
No, even the fine ones?
No,
No.
no, because you
Risk.
can bend your pin, break your needle, and throw your timing off on your sewing machine. So those are some really important reasons. Most don't throw your timing off. Then you have to take it to the repairman, and it's a few bucks to do that. So don't do that. So, but a fork pin, you have to leave that fork pin in there until you've sewn over that first part. Because if I take it out before I come to that seam, my seam could move. So what I do, I sew very slowly as I get close to that. Then I'm going to use the hand wheel. I'm going to move my needle on my sewing machine in a couple of stitches from that. Then I'm free to take that fork pin out and carry it.
Because if you're doing it with your hand, you can see if it's going to hit and just kind of push it through a little bit and not do any damage to your machine.
Do any damage
Okay,
to anything.
how
So that's our
how about machine needles?
Oh, machine needles. Well, my very favorite machine needles, and this is a really weird thing, I love the Superior 80 top stitch. I don't know why. I piece better with that one.
Yeah, the titanium, is that the one that's like titanium
Yes,
coated or something?
and they
I don't know.
last longer.
They do last a
They
long
do
time.
last a long time.
And
I love
yeah, I
that
agree.
needle.
They just really kind of help the piecing.
do.
I think, I'm not sure why. I think that on top of using a thinner thread
A thinner thread.
and a good quality
good
thread.
quality thread.
A good quality.
Yeah.
50 weight, do you like? Or
I do.
40? Yeah, 50.
50 weight. 50 weight.
50 weight is
and
great
there's
for
some-
piecing.
There's some
I like
great-
40 for top stitching.
Absolutely.
But for
'cause that's a little
piecing,
thicker.
yeah, for piecing, I do like a good 100% cotton 50 weight
Yes, and
thread.
your sewing machine will also like you better if you use a good quality
Yeah,
machine.
good quality is
There's
important.
less lint in
Well,
it.
and I think the reason the thinner thread is better when you're piecing is it just takes up that much less room in your seam.
Room in your seam, so it's really good. So a good thread is very important.
So, any other? Oh, how about our sandpaper board? And
Oh yes, our sandpaper board definitely. So
when you have to make markings on your fabrics before you sew them together, this here, let me just grab this.
Grab a piece of fabric.
Yeah,
That's
this is
even
just
better.
a little. Look at how that just sticks on there. Even, I mean, I'm really tilting it, but you can see how
it
holds
stays.
it.
So when you're drawing your little diagonal lines on for your half squares or quarter squares or flying geese, anything that you have to draw a line onto your pieces for, this sandpaper board just really holds your fabric nice.
And it helps your pencil make a better mark too.
Yes,
I
it does.
think. So,
yes, it does.
Yep.
So we love the sandpaper board.
Yep,
so.
sandpaper board, magic wand.
All the goodies. All those goodies.
All right.
Now, sometimes we have those specialty rulers that, like Creative Grids has the nice little grippies on the back, you know, the little kind of rough edges that help hold that ruler so as you're trimming, it doesn't move around.
Right.
But we have some beautiful specialty rulers that we like to use.
And they're kind of slick.
And they're very slick.
Yeah.
So I love this grippy spray. So the grippy spray, you just spray it onto the back side of your ruler and you spray it lightly.
Yeah.
You don't need to make it real thick and globby. It does wear off eventually. No problem. You just take it back outside or into a very well ventilated area and give it another spray.
Yeah. Or also, like, if you are cutting your own templates out of the Mylar plastic or template plastic or whatever, that'll help hold it in place while you're tracing.
Anything with a slickery surface that you're going to want to try to hold in place and cut, grippy spray is
Yeah.
amazing for
Yeah.
that. So there's another new product that we were just recently introduced. It's not new, it's been around. It's new to us. Like I said, sometimes people bring us new things and show us, and,
Yeah.
and then we say, yes,
Oh,
please.
yeah, that's a good one.
Yes, please. So sometimes when you're sewing together a piece and it's got those points, and that point is what you're feeding into your machine, you can't really get
Hold
a
it.
pin in there, and you can't hold it with your fingers. Your stiletto will help,
Help,
but still.
yeah.
So what you do with this seam-align glue is you put a little teeny tiny drop right at the point. Take it over to your iron, put those two pieces together that you want to sew. Put your iron down on that so that
Dry it
kind of
out.
dries your glue, and then it's ready to take over to your
Yeah.
sewing machine and sew. You don't need a lot of it, and you don't need it on your whole seam. A little tiny dot
Just
right there.
in those points.
Just right there
Good.
in those points.
Good.
So,
Well, this has been really helpful
yeah,
with the tools and
some
the
different
yeah,
things.
yeah, lots
Mhm,
of things.
mhm.
One other thing that I wanted to talk about in this little video about kind of general directions is the difference between finished and unfinished.
Yes, please.
Oftentimes in your pattern, it says make this block 6.5 inches unfinished. Or you get ready to start and it says this block is going to be 6 inches finished.
May I just say something?
Yeah.
Not all patterns give you a finished and unfinished size.
Right.
So, know what size block you're making, know what size those units need to be in each one of them, because I've had lots of customers come in and say, oh, I trimmed my block to 6 inches.
6 inches. Yeah.
Now I don't have any seam allowance.
Yeah, because that was what it was supposed to be finished. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yes.
mm-hmm.
So when they say a finished size unit or block or anything finished size, always means that's the size the piece is going to be when it's completely sewn into the quilt.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you can't ever really say like the finished size of the outer part of the block. It's actually once it's sewn all the way around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to be a 1/2 inch bigger will
Yes.
be your unfinished size because we use 1/4 inch seam allowance,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives you the 1/4 inch on both sides.
But a lot of patterns do not give that to you in the instructions. So you just need to be kind of aware of that, so you're watching and you
know
can,
what they're talking about. Like they may not say unfinished,
Right.
but that is what they're talking about. So just kind of
Mhm,
know in your
mhm,
mind which it
mhm,
is.
mhm,
So
mhm. And read your patterns through carefully
Yeah.
before you ever start anything.
good
Because
advice.
sometimes also I'll read through a pattern and go, oh, heavenly days, I am not making those flying geese units that way.
Well,
heck no.
that's the beauty of learning all of these fun techniques that we're going to be teaching
mhm,
you in these
mhm,
videos
mhm, mhm.
and in our classes and stuff about specialty rulers. You can transfer that to other
Any
patterns.
pattern.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Any pattern
So,
that uses that
yeah,
same unit.
right,
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
So anyway,
Well, we hope
hopefully,
we've
yeah.
given you a couple of things that maybe you've not seen or used in your sewing experience yet, but maybe some that you would like to give a try to.
Yeah.
So,
Or if nothing else, maybe we gave you a Christmas list for your family.
and that's always good because
That is
mine's
always
always say,
Yeah, what do you want? What do you want?
So if we're your local quilt shop, which we would love for you to come and visit us, or if you're one of our visitors that's just watching, bounce down to your nearest quilt store, and if they don't carry some of these items, ask them
They
if
can
they
usually order it.
Yeah, most
yeah.
shops are happy to order in any special order for you.
Yep.
Do whatever you need.
Yeah.
So I think we've shown them maybe
Kinda
a couple
covered
other
it.
things.
All
So
right.
we
Sounds
thank you
good.
very much for joining us once again, and hopefully we've given you some useful information. So thanks. Bye for